Tonight, a seismic shift in North American trade. Canada has signed a historic $214 billion agreement, sending shockwaves through the global financial community and capturing the attention of markets everywhere. And not with the US, as many would expect, but with a powerful new bloc of nations that is rapidly rising on the world stage. This isn't just another trade deal, it fundamentally redraws the economic map, challenging America's long-standing dominance and rewriting the rules of engagement for global commerce. The Pacific Atlantic Strategic Partnership, or PASP, now links Canada directly to some of the world's fastest-growing markets, bypassing the US entirely and opening new doors for Canadian industry. For decades, the US-Canada relationship was the bedrock of North American stability, a partnership that shaped economies and livelihoods on both sides of the border. Now, that foundation has cracked, revealing deep fissures and uncertainty about the future. The phones are ringing off the hook in Washington as leaders scramble to grasp the full implications of this unprecedented move, and analysts rush to update their forecasts. This deal signals Canada's bold pivot away from US reliance, embracing a multipolar world where new alliances and opportunities are rapidly emerging. The effects will be immediate and far-reaching, supply chains rerouted overnight, jobs hanging in the balance, and entire industries facing the need to adapt or risk being left behind. It's a wake-up call for America, undeniable proof that the global economic landscape is shifting beneath our feet, and that no nation's dominance is guaranteed forever. The US must now confront a new reality. Its closest ally is charting an independent course, and the consequences will ripple across the continent. As of July 14, 2025, the special relationship between the US and Canada has entered a profoundly uncertain chapter, with both nations facing tough choices ahead. The question now looms larger than ever: how did we get here and what happens next? The world is watching, waiting for the next move in this unfolding drama. So what is the PASP? It's a sweeping, decade-long pact between Canada and a coalition of Southeast Asian and African nations: Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Nigeria, South Africa, and more. The deal covers everything from Canadian natural resources, lumber, potash, LNG, to advanced tech, green energy, and agricultural innovation. Canada becomes the central hub, supplying both resources and technology to these rapidly growing economies. The PASP isn't just about exports, it forges new interwoven supply chains. Canadian minerals processed in Vietnam, assembled in South Africa, sold across continents. For partner nations, Canada offers stability and access without the baggage of US-China rivalry. This is a 21st century trade model: deep integration, mutual development, and a clear alternative to old-school trade blocs. Canada is betting big on a new global order. The PASP is a direct challenge to the US-centric trade model that's dominated for decades. It creates a major trade corridor outside US influence, connecting emerging markets and reducing dependence on any single superpower. America's economic leverage, long a key foreign policy tool, just took a hit. With new alternatives, nations are less vulnerable to US pressure, shifting the balance in global negotiations. The deal sets a new standard: enforceable labor and environmental protections, sustainable development, and ethical governance. It's a blueprint for middle powers to build their own spheres of influence, fragmenting the old order. For global supply chains, it's a game changer. Companies must rethink sourcing as new networks bypass traditional hubs. The era of predictable US-dominated trade is ending. Canada's move could inspire others to follow suit, accelerating the shift to a multipolar world. The stakes for American business and diplomacy have never been higher. The rules of global commerce are being rewritten. In the corridors of Washington, some call it outright betrayal. Did Canada really steal America's most valuable trading partners, or is there more to the story than meets the eye? The reality is far more nuanced, but the outcome is impossible to ignore. Canada managed to close deals and secure partnerships in places where the US hesitated or stalled, missing key opportunities. Take Vietnam, for example. After years of US diplomatic courtship and drawn-out negotiations, Canada swooped in with a fast, flexible offer, cutting through layers of red tape and bureaucracy to get the job done. Many partner nations, weary of unpredictable US political swings and slow-moving negotiations, began to see Canada as the more reliable and consistent bet for their economic futures. Canada's pitch was refreshingly simple: focus on business, not geopolitics, and keep the process straightforward. No strings attached, no hidden agendas, and no demands for political allegiance or loyalty. For countries like Nigeria, Canada offered more than just trade deals. It brought co-investment, government-backed infrastructure, energy projects, and digital networks, all designed to foster long-term growth. This proactive, long-term approach helped de-risk the environment for Canadian firms and made the US look hesitant and reactive by comparison, shifting the balance of influence. Canada's strategy was clear: act fast, focus on economics, and build genuine trust with partners, rather than just transactional relationships. Meanwhile, the US often bundled trade with security demands, military considerations, and political conditions, which complicated talks and made deals harder to close. Canada offered true partnership and mutual benefit. The US frequently asked for loyalty and alignment on broader issues, creating a stark contrast in approach. That subtle but crucial difference made all the difference in the eyes of international partners who felt respected and empowered. The result? Canada didn't just win contracts, it won hearts, minds, and long-term allies, reshaping the global business landscape. America's loss is Canada's gain, and the world is taking note. The playbook for global trade and alliances has changed, and Canada is now setting the pace. The shockwaves from PASP will hit American businesses first, sending ripples through boardrooms and factory floors across the country. US companies in tech, agriculture, and energy now face a formidable Canadian competitor in key global markets. Whether it's a Texas LNG exporter, an Ohio factory worker, or a California software engineer, all could see their future prospects dim as Canada locks in long-term, tariff-free deals with major trading partners, potentially edging out American firms. Lost market share means hiring freezes, layoffs, and downward wage pressure in sectors overlapping with Canada's strengths. For many communities, this could translate into fewer job opportunities and increased economic anxiety. On a macro level, slower export growth could drag down US GDP and, over time, erode the dollar's dominance in global trade. Investors may grow wary, and financial markets could see increased volatility as America's economic edge is tested. Yet, some economists see a silver lining. This challenge could force American industries to innovate, streamline operations, and aggressively pursue new markets, sparking a new wave of competitiveness. The US government may need to overhaul its trade negotiation process, invest in workforce development, and double down on sectors where it still leads, ensuring America remains a global powerhouse. Canada's move isn't a death knell, it's a wake-up call, a signal that the global landscape is shifting and America must adapt quickly. In the global economy, standing still means falling behind. Adaptation and resilience are now more crucial than ever. The question remains, will America rise to the challenge, innovate, and reclaim its competitive edge, or cede ground to its northern neighbor? The answer will shape not just the next decade but the future of American prosperity. The race is on. In Canada, the mood is triumphant. Bay Street bankers and Main Street workers alike see PSP as a generational win. Energy workers in Calgary hope for job stability. Montreal's tech sector eyes new markets. The government promises 150,000 new jobs. For many, it's a declaration of independence from US economic whims. Across the border, the tone is anxious and angry. Midwest farmers and small business owners feel betrayed, fearing they can't compete with Canada's new government-backed advantage. In Washington, shock and finger-pointing dominate. Some lawmakers demand retaliatory tariffs, others call for a total rethink of US-Canada trade policy. One official summed it up: "We were playing checkers while Canada was playing chess." The debate over who lost these partners is just beginning. The fallout will be fierce and deeply personal. Make no mistake, this is a high-stakes gamble for Canada. The country is betting on the growth and stability of emerging markets, which come with real risks. Political or economic turmoil in partner nations could unravel the deal. Domestically, Canada faces massive infrastructure demands: pipelines, ports, and power grids, all costly and contentious. Canadian businesses must adapt to unfamiliar markets, legal systems, and cultures, raising the risk of costly missteps. The pivot away from the US brings uncertainty but also opportunity. Policymakers saw rising US protectionism and explosive growth abroad, and chose the latter. If the bet pays off, Canada secures its prosperity for a generation. If not, it risks alienating its closest ally for a dream that may never materialize. The stakes couldn't be higher. Washington's response is critical. Retaliation, tariffs, or trade war would hurt both economies, given their deep integration. A smarter path: recalibrate the relationship, treat Canada as a true strategic partner, and address irritants before they fester. The US must modernize its trade strategy, making negotiations faster and more reliable for allies. Stability and trust are now economic necessities, not diplomatic niceties. Expect urgent talks to clarify the deal's impact on existing agreements and vulnerable supply chains. The goal: manage fallout, reinforce what works, and learn from this setback. The US-Canada friendship isn't over, but its terms have been forcefully rewritten. The next moves will define the future of North American cooperation. The world is watching how America responds. The PASP marks the end of an era. America is no longer the uncontested center of North American trade. The US, Canada, and Mexico must now navigate a more complex, competitive landscape. The old dynamic of dependence is gone. Interdependence and rivalry are the new reality. Canada's move is a playbook for other middle powers, Australia, South Korea, Brazil, to build their own networks outside US or Chinese dominance. This could create a more resilient, but also more fragmented, global economy. The consequences are still unfolding. In the end, this $214 billion deal is about ambition, strategy, and the relentless pace of change. Even the closest allies will act in their own self-interest. For the US, it's a moment to adapt, innovate, and rethink its global role. The economic map has been redrawn, and the shockwaves are just beginning.